All right, folks, welcome back. This is Yankees Unloaded. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr. And as you guys can see, we did not abandon you. But just like we said, wasn't going to be another 3 games or, this is the 41st episode. And the Yankees, to the surprise of nobody, beat the White Sox. Maybe the biggest surprise that it ended up being 4-2, and that was close. Clay Holmes still hasn't given up a run. Aaron Judge is still hitting bombs. Giancarlo Stanton is still pulling it down the left field line. And Nestor Cortez bouncing back. I mean, pretty much everything that you would have expected out of this game. Pretty much everyone got a hit except for the last 2 guys in the lineup. I mean, it was just that type of day. If
That's
only,
what we want.
Yeah, if you want to take anything away from this negative, you could say, hey, with 9 hits, Yankees, I'd like more than 4 runs against a bad baseball team, the White Sox. But I'm not going to do that because I like the way this team's playing right now. And they're the hottest team in baseball. If not, they're one of them. 31-15. You're going to be hard pressed to find teams that are playing collectively at this level. And Gary, I actually noticed something today. The Yankees, aside from, well, let's just say this. Assuming,
are you about to bring up the batting average thing?
Yes. I've never seen this before. It blew my mind. Okay. I think we chat about this, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long day. But we chat about this. I'm right. Trevino, when in the lineup, we'll call him a starter, right? He's pretty much a starter. Austin Wells got the start today, but Trevino's the starter. He's hitting 288. So when Trevino's in the lineup, 8 out of the 9 guys in the lineup, except for Gleyber Torres, and this is not a knock on Gleyber. This is more so, this is an impressive thing, not a negative. 8 out of the 9 batters are hitting over 250. Find me a Yankees team that has done that. Because I can't find one recently. I can tell you that much.
No, because they've told us that batting average just doesn't matter. And
I love how we connected from the last episode.
Yeah, they told us batting average doesn't matter. It's all about ops. It's all about on-base percentage. Because you have to remember of who was on this team. We had a lot of, because when we talk about like Juan Soto and his ability to walk, there were a lot of guys on the team like 2 or 3 years ago that could only walk. They were just fouling pitches off. And like those latter years of Brett Gardner, he was just slapping balls in foul territory and then just trying to work a walk. Okay. The Yankees were a strikeout walk machine. And Juan Soto didn't just provide walks. He provides hits. He's hitting over 300, and that's saying a lot. He had actually a really good night. I know he was 1 for 4 tonight, but he hit the ball hard 3 or 4 times. So 3 times. So let's be realistic. The Yankees are used to the 3 outcomes: walk, strikeout, home run. This team is not that. And it's apparent when you look at batting average only. Now, is batting average the most important thing of baseball? No. But you can't hit 210 in the regular season because you have to remember what batting average means. How often do you get a hit? Of your 100% of your at-bats, how often do you get a base hit? If you hit 210 during the season, you're hitting 210, meaning you essentially get a hit 20% of the time when you put the ball in play. And you're facing the 1 through 5 in everyone's rotation. So that means you hit less than 210 against the ace, more than likely. That's according to statistics, is you're not going to hit as good against someone's ace as you are their 3 through 5. So guys who are hitting 210 in years past, and everyone's saying, well, why can't they score in the postseason? Well, doesn't that tell you right there? They're hitting under 200 against the game's best pitchers. This team doesn't have that problem. This team goes out and grinds. They find ways to score. And we were talking about why were the Yankees so inconsistent. And I told you, Jake, when your 3-hitter that's slotted behind the hottest hitter in the lineup and Juan Soto is doing nothing, you're going to have a hard time putting innings together, putting up crooked numbers. And then now we get to see what happens when your 3-hitter is doing what you paid him to do, to be the captain, to be the best player on the field. He is that right now. Aaron Judge he had an amazing day today. 1 for 1 with a jack and 3 walks. I mean, it's ridiculous. His ops is 981. So we're now approaching the point where Aaron Judge, his ops is going to creep into the thousands. So, I mean, that's what we were hoping to see. I know we were very hesitant on this show to just say, hey, let's make the assumption he's going to be back, because we tried to give baseball credit for being as hard of a game as it is. And you can't just assume people are going to bounce back maybe next month or just make those projections. We said, let's wait to see what Aaron Judge does first. And then when he actually shows us a glimpse of being himself, we'll just give him the credit right then and there. And Jake, we're at that point. We are at that point now where Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge. He's hitting 114.5-mile-an-hour lasers and taking 3 walks. He's seeing the ball.
And not only that, he's tied for second in home runs after that horrible start to the season. I mean, he's been a machine as of late. And it's not just him. I want to give a lot of credit to Clay Holmes, who once again, he comes in here and we just take him for granted, man. I mean, inning pitch, 2 strikeouts, and he walks the guy. So now Twitter, goes ablaze. I know it doesn't exist, but, so it's one of those things where, it's Clay Holmes. I mean, you're looking at one of the more dominant pitchers in baseball, regardless. You're looking at one of the more dominant players in baseball, regardless of position. And I just want to give, a shout out to him, because it's not easy to do what he's done. His whip is under 1, okay? And he's got a 0 ERA. He's got a 0 ERA through 20 innings. That is insane, okay? That is, at this point, 20 appearances, insanity. And so my thinking is that at some point, I still think the Yankees are going to get a big-time arm. And we've talked about it. Clase is also tied for saves leader with Holmes. They could go with him. They could go after, our boy over there, Mason Miller. They could go after somebody.
Jake. I figured it out. I think I know why Clay Holmes isn't given the respect that he is deserved. And
it's because Mariano Rivera.
No, I actually don't even think it's that.
Really?
No, I really don't. If the average Yankees fan or baseball fans thinks that you need to be Mariano Rivera to get credit in
then we can't help you.
That's not a podcast I'm even worth discuss. Like, that's not even worth our time on this show. Yeah. But what is important is trying to describe why people might feel a certain way about Clay Holmes. And what's so interesting about how talented he actually is the broadcast feels comfortable enough. Maybe I'd say an out into every outing he has. 1 out. The broadcast will tell you this is his stuff. Clay Holmes has got it. He's got it. There are not many pitchers out there in the game where you watch one hitter and say, you're screwed. You're done. Did you see, what they'll say on the broadcast? That looked like a left-handed slider on that sinker. Now, the reason I don't think he gets as much credit as he deserves is because he pitches to contact. And a lot of people don't realize that is he's not trying to strike guys out. He's actually trying to pitch to contact. And Clase, for example, the best pitch to throw when you're trying to miss a bat is a 4-seam fastball. You're getting higher spin, and a 2-seamer or a sinker isn't necessarily as high spin. That pitch is going to be put in play more often. It's usually down in the zone. Guys have a better opportunity to slap a ball into the infield with weak contact on a sinker, regardless of if it's 90 or if it's 100 miles an hour. Guys have a better opportunity to put that in play than a 100 mile an hour cutter or a 4-seam at 103 from Miller. So when you look at Miller and Clase, those strikeout numbers are going to balloon. In the 19 and a third innings that Clay Holmes has thrown, if Miller threw that exact same amount of innings, he's probably striking out like 40 guys. And that's because of pitch selection. But you have to give Clay Holmes credit. In what he's trying to do out there, he's absolutely mastered his craft. No one's touching him. Nobody. Will someone touch him this season? Yes, we're entering the summer months. It's going to warm up. Someone will pop a fly ball out to right field. And then people will come to us on the show and sit in the comment section and be like, when are we going to go get an arm? Like, this guy's a problem. He's not a problem, okay? He's about to throw 20 games without giving up a run. There's no problem. So this guy is special. We need to embrace how special he is. We need to recognize how special he is. But we also, Jake, we can recognize how the Yankees can get even better personnel-wise in the back end of their bullpen. And I think there's an opportunity there. Now, do we know who it's going to be? I don't even like to say it's going to be Miller, Clase, whoever. I don't even like doing that because, obviously looking in hindsight, 6 months from now, we're going to be like, how ridiculous was it? We spent 2 hours talking about this guy joining our team and he's not even a member of the team. We'll figure out who's actually on the table based on who's winning and losing. We'll figure that out around the break and we'll discuss it then, but it's going to be a good time to be a Yankee.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into it a little bit. Let's break the game down a little bit before we do, but we could talk a little bit about the standings afterwards and discuss maybe what teams could be early sellers. Hint, hint, the team that they
that'd be
played
nice
today. I mean, let's be honest here. No matter how you feel, the White Sox just aren't that great. They're 4-17 on the road. If you lose to the White Sox, it's not good. So right now, the Yankees, they're 14-6 at home, and which is cool because they started off a little shaky at home, if you remember. So it's good to see that. Looking at what I saw today, I just saw consistent hitting, consistent at bats, generating contact. Torres had another hit. Rizzo had 2 hits. Stanton had 2 hits. Oh my goodness, his home run was majestic, man.
Did I not just say on 2 podcasts ago, like this is a bit ago, maybe a week ago, before Mother's Day weekend, I said, I think at some point we're going to see Giancarlo Stanton creep to 250.
He's did say that.
Guys, when Giancarlo Stanton's hitting 250, this is Giancarlo Stanton. This is what you paid to see. His ops is 800. Okay.
It's crazy.
It's insane. So that's better than Verdugo, right? That's better than Volpe. As much as we talked about his blazing start, Giancarlo's ops is higher. Okay. So Trevino's a guy that you would consider right now. He's having I wouldn't call it a breakout because obviously he had that All-Star game appearance in his 5 weeks of baseball he played. But let's be clear. When you look at Trevino essentially what he's done with the bat, right? You would say he's been one of our better hitters this year. He's been incredible. We've given him as much credit as you possibly can do. In terms of ops, Giancarlo's better.
Yeah.
Giancarlo is showing up.
By the way,
I said he just needs to be streaky good. He's been excellent.
2-time All-Star Jose Trevino. Get ready. Y'all ain't ready for this.
Who else is in discussion? Well, so Adley Rutschman is going to be the starter. That's one. And then how many catchers can even be on the team? Is it 3?
I think it's 3.
Okay.
Maybe it's 2.
We've got to look at that list. I would assume, well, here's the thing. If you hit 290 as a catcher for the Yankees, you're going to be an all-star. So
that's
I don't
really
saying.
I don't need to see the list. I know Adley Rutschman is a shoo-in. And then whoever's on the Yankees, as long as they're hitting well.
Yep.
That's how I feel. True. So, yeah, Mr. 31-year-old catcher that we were very critical of, he turned his game around. To be fair, early in the season, and we got excited. I mean, Austin Wells had a great spring training, but Trevino batted over 300 in the month of April. And it started off 111, 083, 071, 056. And then it was 143, 200, 207, 233, 242, 243, 250, 273, 261, 280. He's batting 310 in May.
Seems good.
Yeah, I mean, he's just getting better. I mean, I guess at this point,
at 8th in the lineup.
As much as I mean, I'm a big Austin Wells fan. I'm a believer of in him down the stretch here. I think he's going to turn it around, and the on-base percentage doesn't lie. I mean, he's got a higher on-base percentage than Torres. He's got a higher on-base percentage than Stan. Okay, so at some point or another. Oh, by the way, also higher than Cabrera, believe it or not.
Yeah, and his strikeout to walk ratio is excellent.
Yeah,
so that's
at some
always
point or another, that's going to turn itself around. I just think, as much as I love Wells, and this is what our podcast and our show is all about. I am a fan of Wells. I have been very vocal about that. I'm being vocal about that now. But we gain new information. Okay. So it's not me flip flopping, going back to yesterday's, discussion. It's me taking the new information and deciding what I think is best for the team. I'm not playing favorites here. I'm not trying to be biased. Austin Wells is the future. But right now, Jose Trevino should be the starting catcher. If you're, obviously catchers don't play, say, 162 games. They just don't. It's not a position you can play them 162 games.
No, today is probably like $1.25.
Yeah. But I mean, I want Trevino playing more games than Austin Wells, the way he's hitting. I mean, because if you disagree with that, I mean, I hate to say that you're wrong because, I mean, I love Wells, but you're wrong. Austin Wells is batting 197. He has a home run, 4 RBIs, and an OPS of 610. Okay? Trevino's OPS is getting up to 800. It's close.
I don't think Austin Wells thinks he should be the starter as of now, which is, I mean, the way
Austin Wells celebrates in the dugout, I think he's feeling good. By the way, I think Wells is starting to turn it around. I also want to, have that caveat as well. Hitting 178 and now hitting 227 this month, 178 the prior month, improving his OPS, which is up by, quite a few points. And then his slugging went up. Like, I think Austin Wells is figuring it out. But I also think it's important to realize, while he has, 5 hits in the last, 7 games, 6 games, he does. It's important to also realize that, like, Trevino is having not just a good season, he's having a fantastic season. And a Yankee hitting catcher like that, I mean, hell, we didn't even get that out of Brian McCann. We got the home runs. We didn't get 290 batting average. So
right. Well, Jake,
that was Atlanta Braves, Brian McCann.
Right. At the beginning of the year, I told you, Jake, and that's, again, you mentioned it. That's what this podcast is about. We'll put our hand up when we feel like we're right. We're definitely going to put our hand up when we think we're wrong. And,
I was wrong.
And Jake, I told you, you were very high on Austin Wells. I wasn't high on either of them. What I said was that I'm not high on this room in general. Now, the reason I said this was because I felt like Austin Wells, yes, he'd hit well in spring training, but so did Kyle Higashioka 2 years ago. So
I'll never forget
I have a hard time looking at.
You have trust issues because of Kyle Higashioka. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, why wouldn't I? If you know anything about baseball, and I'm about to name drop for those of you big baseball fans out there, but Kurt Suzuki is one of the best spring training hitters of all time. This dude's Babe Ruth. He's unbelievable.
I hear his name so much. He's such an example.
But he's an incredible hitter in spring training. Now, no one really knows why that is, but maybe it could be that guys who are better fastball hitters hit better in spring training. There's more fastballs, right? People are getting their arms in shape. I think there's something to be said there. You're not going to be getting 3 sliders snapped off in the spring. That's not going to happen, right? So, in my opinion, that's part of the results. But yeah, like, I'm not going to look at what Austin Wells does in the spring and be like, oh, okay, well, he's Jorge Posada now. Like, I don't project people in that way. I tend to be on the side of caution and say, I don't see what they're seeing in this room. And then once I see it, not be ignorant enough not to recognize what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing, and Austin Wells has not, let's be clear, Jake, has not gotten the results that he wants. He's still hitting 197. His ops, still very serviceable. It's at 611. So we can assume our backup catcher right now is 100% Austin Wells, and that he's going to have some form of resurgence. He's playing very well. If he continues to get better, we can safely say our backup catcher is going to hit 235 and play very solid defense. His ops will be near 700. If you told me that the team that wins the World Series has 2 catchers, one hitting 290 with his ops almost at 800, and then their backup is hitting 235 with an ops of 700, I would tell you that makes a lot of sense. That team seems like they would be an excellent baseball team. So
no, I agree. It's a position where catchers are kind of hard to find, and
they are.
It's just the way it is. It's like tight ends in the NFL. There's like 5 really good ones, and then after that, you have kind of a drop off. Catcher's the same way. I mean, it's pretty much Adley Rutschman, and then, I mean, Contreras over with the Brewers is hitting like 350, you know, and Real Muto for the Phillies, right?
And Contreras just got hurt.
It's not
I
right,
mean, you
man.
saw it. I mean, you saw that.
Oh, and
So
I can't forget my guy, Ben Rortvedt. He's hitting
I can't believe
286.
he's on a roster. It's almost hard to believe. It's like seeing Bigfoot.
He's hitting 286. Oh, I know. Michael K is probably going crazy. He exists. He's real. I mean, I remember, I think somebody called in the Michael K show and was like, I don't know why we got rid of Rortvedt. He's like, he didn't do anything.
There's nothing to criticize Ben Rortvedt of. He never showed up to the field. He showed up at one point at the very end of his tenure, did absolutely nothing in a sample size, frankly, that was too short to do anything. So he was so unavailable that by the time he did show up to crap down his leg, it was just too late for us to actually have a judgment on him. I have no judgment of Ben Rortvedt. I'm sure he's a very talented guy. There's a reason he's in the big leagues, and there's a
Oh,
reason
yeah.
I guess I shouldn't say there's a reason Brian Cashman traded for him, because he also traded for Josh Donaldson, which was just reprehensible. It was the war. I almost had a brain aneurysm just
I
thinking about the
know.
trade.
I was like, he's about to malfunction? I
I
always knew you
was
were
about to.
sympathetic.
It was the worst trade ever. It was horrible. It made no sense. It wasn't good on any front.
Gary's Kawhi
Financially,
Leonard over there.
physically. What?
Gary's Kawhi Leonard over there. Just malfunctioning.
Yeah. It was terrible. It was so bad.
He
So
did
you
play
can't
31
necessarily say,
games for the Yankees, 32. Oh, okay.
did
Yeah,
he?
all right. So this is perfect. He's played 39 games in his career with the Twins,
Okay.
32 at the Yankees, and 31 with Tampa. 15 hits with Minnesota in those 39 games,
Okay.
8 runs. Yankees, 8 hits, 6 runs. Tampa Bay, 22 hits, 14 runs. 4 doubles with Tampa Bay, only 1 with Minnesota and New York. 3 home runs with Minnesota, 2 in New York, 0 with Tampa. 8 RBIs with Tampa, 4 with the Yankees, 7 with the Twins. He even has a stolen base with Tampa. He's never had one before. 16 walks in Tampa, 11 with the Yankees, 6 with the Twins. 22 strikeouts in Tampa, 19 with the Yankees, 29 with the Twins. And the big one here, the batting average, which is inaccurate because it's showing that he's batting 301, which I just saw he's batting 286. But let's just give him 301 for now. 301 with Tampa, 118 with the Yankees, 169 with the Twins, with an OPS of 783 with Tampa, 461 with the Yankees, and 510 with the Twins. Now, mind you, the Twins, he played 7 more games on the Twins than the Yankees. Great trade. 31 games he's played with Tampa. What do you take away from this? Well, he was not anything with the Yankees. Batting 118 with a 461 OPS. I'm not going to sit here and play hindsight Hank with you, even if you want me to. Okay? You cannot get mad at the Yankees for trading away Rortvedt. The dude literally did nothing. And you don't just hold on to guys that aren't even expected to make the team and, move on to AAA. You don't just hold on to the guys for the sake of, well, we acquired him in a trade. Well, teams acquire lots of guys in trades. And
All the time.
you
They'd
have to
never
cut
show up
bait.
to the field.
You have to cut bait. I mean, it didn't work out exactly to your point. I mean, so much so, Michael K is like, I don't even know if Ben Rortvedt's real. That is my favorite line in his show. I hope someday I can find that clip, and I will just spam it on Twitter, which doesn't
You have to
exist, but I
remember,
will spam
Michael
it.
K is trying, Jake, to find the olive branch to extend to the front office. He wants to find the positive side of every move, right? And so do we.
He tries to be fair, but it was like, what are we doing here with Ben Rortvedt?
He didn't do anything. He did nothing. And yes, he's hitting 286. That's awesome. But so is Trevino. So
Yes.
there's nothing that Ben Rortvedt is doing that Trevino is
He's in a
not, other
contract
than
year
giving up,
too.
having a 9 ERA. That's something Trevino's got on him.
Well, I mean, what were the Yankees going to do? He's okay, yeah, okay. So they would have him arbitration. He'd be a free agent in 2028, but he had never really done anything. So
Who
I have
wait,
no issue with
who
it.
would be a free agent in 2028?
Rortvedt.
Really?
Yeah, I guess because he's in
Well, he's 26.
pre-arbitration. Yeah,
Okay.
he's pre-arbitration. So
I feel
he's
like it's
got
silly for him to even be allowed to be like close to any arbitration whatsoever. When you hit buck 50, they should just be like, those 2 years don't count.
yeah. Sorry,
He
buddy.
did nothing other
Well,
than just put
let's
on a
just,
Yankees.
let's just say this. I mean, forget about results, Gary. He's played 102 games in 3 years. End of story. That's it. There should be no arbitration available if you can't even get through 40 games without getting traded away or missing the field. But
That is the most important part of baseball, by the
yeah,
way. A lot of people talk about
availability.
speed and we need to get more athletic. We need to get more guys need to hit for a higher batting average. More guys need to hit for power. We need better fielders, right? You can talk all day long about what you need physically. You have got to be able to stay on the field. I don't care how talented you are. And we've had this conversation as well about Mike Trout off air. You have got to be able to stay on the field to get into the conversation with these other all-time greats or into the conversation with these other teams. You can't just come into the year and be like, well, if these guys, this collection of talent is healthy, we're going to be in great shape. Well, if they're normally not healthy, then you don't have a great team. That's the answer that you're really looking for. If Ben Rortvedt has played 103 games since his entire baseball career started in Major League Baseball, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense why that he would be given an opportunity with the Tampa Bay Rays, an organization, frankly, that nobody cares about right now. They do not have a stadium in Tampa. We call them the Tampa Bay Rays. They're nowhere near Tampa. They're not close. Do you know where they actually are, Jake? They're from where my family's from in St. Petersburg, Florida. No one knows where that is.
That's Yankee Town.
It's Yankeeville, and it's also old people land. That's where old people go to retire. And guess what? Those old people who have all the time in the world and all the money in the world, they are retired. They're still not going to Rays games with their money.
No.
Come on now.
Not this Rays
What are you
team,
talking
and
about?
definitely not in that stadium.
Why would you?
Hey,
Why would you go to
we
that?
have the great climate of Florida. I understand it can be a little hot, but just go with me. We have the great climate of Florida. Let's play in an indoor stadium. Because that's what baseball was meant to be played in. Indoor little dome in Florida. Like there's not even one at Yankee Stadium doesn't have a roof. It's why there's so many damn rainouts. I'd welcome
You
one.
can't make sense. Okay, separate conversation. Let's
Yeah.
discuss it right now. Explain to me one good reason why Yankee Stadium doesn't have a roof.
Okay, so we're on the same page here. No idea. I guess they just like rainouts. That's part of the progression. No,
That's actually like
I
where
would,
my PTSD resides, was turning on Yes Network as a child and
you're,
seeing that it's pouring rain and
you're in
seeing
the sad
rain
sacks.
delay. And they're showing me some old game.
You know
Horrible.
the sad sacks.
Oh my gosh. I can't even say what I'm actually thinking. When they play those, go jump off a building.
It's like, oh, I know you were waiting all day coming back from school. You have a lot of homework. You finished your homework. All you want to do is watch the Yankees at 7. But sad saxophone. It's over. It's Jover.
Yep. You were looking forward to watching Ching-Ming Wong, and now it is a 1988 baseball game. That
Which,
sucks.
like, nothing
That was
against
horrible.
1988, but I didn't sign up to watch that. I want to watch today's game.
Yeah. Yes has a job to do, which is entertain us.
I'll do you one
They
better
do a
though.
great job.
Have you ever been to a Yankee game, which would sting for you because you live far away? But have you ever been to a Yankee game that's been rained out?
Of course.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Okay. That is the worst ever. Because I forget what game I went to. I go and I don't even think I got the voucher for the rain out. Like they're like, yeah, just like download the ballpark app, which is the worst app I've ever used in my entire life. And I'm sorry if we end up getting sponsored by them and they see this video, whatever. It's a bad app, fix
We'll
it.
delete it.
Um, the fact of the matter is when you go to a game and it gets rained out, the service was not provided. I paid for a service, the game. The service was postponed. You can't just say, well, if you can't make tomorrow's postponed game, when it's at 1 p.m., even though you're 3 hours away and you have to drive back home because you have work tomorrow, tough stuff.
Jake, I have an idea. Greatest idea ever. Please finish what you're going to say. I have the best idea ever. There's a shot. I'm going to forget it, though.
How about you go ahead and say that before you forget it?
So they should tier, right? Like rank. The fans should rank which sections are the best sections to sit in, right? And they rank them all in order. Now, if the game is rained out, to your point, giving me a voucher for the same seat in the same area is not equal value. I just drove up here. There's people who don't have a lot of money and make life trips. Like they'll make one trip a year to go to Yankee Stadium, right? It's very expensive for a lot of people, especially now. So if somebody makes the trip, giving them equal value later on is not good. Like it's not equal. They paid for hotel, they drove, they gas, right? They, again, rank every section. Once you rank every section, if you get a game rained out in a section, let's just say you're down the third base line, you're 20 rows back, but they rank the section 5 rows back on the third base line better than your section, you should get a free ticket to a later game of your choice in that section.
I like that. I don't like the forcing you to buy, or not to buy, but forcing you to essentially take what they give you.
Okay.
I don't like if you can't make it, we can try to help you out. Like I think again, it was a really muddy process, and I don't remember actually getting my voucher back. Is the point I'm making? So that was gone. Yeah, I don't know. There's got to be a better way. But anyway, because we could go on and on and on about everything. As we could definitely see here. Aaron Judge is still cooking today, Gary. I don't care what anyone says. He hit a home run and then was walked 3 times because, let's be honest here, Clevenger wanted nothing to do with Judge. Nobody wanted anything to do with Judge. So I walked 3 times. As you mentioned, I mean, Juan Soto hit the ball hard today, only 1 hit. Volpe, another hit today. Again, the 2 hits from Rizzo and Stanton. Rizzo's now up to 256 on the year. This is going to be really tough to beat this team. And I don't see the White Sox doing it once in this series. I think we're going to see another sweep. I think it'll be back-to-back sweeps. I think the Yankees right now have married the hitting and the pitching. Even though it was only 4 runs today, I'm going to give them a pass because it was the White Sox. And, if they had to score more, I think they were definitely capable of doing that. But at no point in this game did I feel like they were going to lose. They did not trail at any point in this game. At one point, it was tied in the third, but that was it, And, man, Andrew Benintendi came back to the Bronx and did absolutely nothing. So, remember when, there was not that long ago, and I was definitely one of those people that wanted him back. I just didn't want him for $100 million. And the Yankees are
yeah, you kidding me? That yeah. Just again, if somebody's going to give Andrew Benintendi $90 million, all the power to you. That's the way the market works.
Yeah.
You're worth what one team will give you. So that's what he's worth. And frankly, the Yankees gave Aaron Hicks $70 million. So why wouldn't Benintendi think he's worth $90 million? He should be, right? So fine. And the Yankees aren't going to do that. But looking ahead, the White Sox tomorrow have Brad Keller. I mean, he's 38-54 in his career. And he's been pitching okay this year, 2.84 ERA, which is obviously very good, but the White Sox can't score. So he's 0-1. He's been like one of the only bright spots. But if you really look at it, he's pitched 12 2/3 innings. So this is like an opener. That's what this is. and we're going to go out there and take it right to this dude. That's just the reality is, and we have Luis Hill. So you know what Luis Hill's brought, which is fastball command. I can't necessarily say you can predict what Luis Hill is going to do because every once in a while he loses command on his fastball and he starts really relying on that changeup as a get me over pitch, not what you want to see. But the last 2 or 3 starts that we've seen from Luis Hill, we have no reason to believe Chicago isn't going to be mop-up work for him. The Chicago White Sox post Tommy Pham have been actually relatively serviceable. They've been much better than what people give them credit for. But if the Yankees do what they've been doing the last week and a half, I see no reason this isn't easy work.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, Tommy Pham, just think about this, right? He went 3 for 5 tonight. Out of the 8 hits, he had 3 of them. He's been a one-man army for them. He's batting .338. He looks great every time he's at the plate. Tommy Pham is 36 years old. The way he's playing right now, there's going to be a team that's willing to give up top 5 prospects to get his bat in their lineup for the postseason. The White Sox are going to make out like bandits at the trade deadline because they're going to literally trade away Tommy Pham, who they just picked up, and they're going to get a king's ransom of guys. So that's just the way baseball works, Gary. It's about supply and demand. Oh, I need a bat at the deadline. Well, you might laugh at this, but we're not trading Pham unless you're giving us your top 3, prospects. Be like, what? I'm not doing that. And then the team does it. It's like, well, okay, they did it. You sure? No? Okay. Now it's theirs. We saw that. And we've seen that with, obviously more talented players. But we've also seen it with lesser talented guys. We've seen teams like the Dodgers are willing to, we need an arm at the deadline. We'll give you your Don Alvarez. Like, we just need this arm. And there you go. And now Alvarez ends up becoming something. The White Sox, if you're a White Sox fan, it's not going to be fun this year. I mean, it's not going to be fun this year.
I was going to say, I was like, where are you going with that?
But at the deadline, like, hopefully Tommy Pham, for your sake, continues to hit the way he's hitting, because he is going to cost a pretty penny, Gary. And I don't think the Yankees would be interested because they have a loaded outfield. But he can also play first, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess there is a possibility. But
and he was available, Jake, by the way, like for those wondering, why would Tommy Pham ever be available? Because he's a proven professional hitter and he's proven clutch, right? He was excellent for the Arizona Diamondbacks last year. The one thing I'll say is this. He was available because there are a lot of teams out there who, frankly, aren't even trying to win. They're trying to develop young players, and Tommy Pham's a little tweener. He's one of those guys who's considered a Band-Aid for an organization.
Well, and he's not really fixing anything for the White Sox. They just need to give any reason for you to go and see their game. So they're like, hey, look, we have Tommy Pham who hits .336. He's the only one in the lineup.
They just wrapped a Band-Aid around a wet turd. Is really what they did. I mean, let's be honest. That's what they did. And the Chicago White Sox, fortunately, are going to be rewarded for this pickup. And to your point, they're just going to cash him in, throw him to a team that considers themselves to be a hot team. You never know what can happen. There could always be like a Philadelphia Phillies, a Schwarber can go down, a Harper can go down for a few weeks. And then a team like that who considers themselves to be contenders might want to go get a bat like Tommy Pham. It wouldn't surprise me at all. You can never really predict where he's going to go because there's no real rhyme or reason other than supply and demand around the deadline. So we're going to see what happens. We kind of know he's going to be traded. It's just a matter of where to.
And that leads us into a really good segue. Let's talk about some teams, Gary. I'll let you start. Some teams that you think could be sellers at the deadline.
Oh, man. Well,
all right, I guess the better question is, who won't be a seller at the deadline?
Interestingly enough, I think this might surprise you. Not in terms of where they are in the standings, but in terms of where their goals and aspirations are. And that team to me is the Toronto Blue Jays. In my opinion, the Blue Jays are in a position right now where their franchise cornerstones are Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette. Those are their 2 best players. Obviously, they've got George Springer over there, very solid player, but you're talking about an organization that cannot go unless those 2 players are superstars, not just good superstars. Those are their Aaron Judge. That's their Aaron Judge. That's their Juan Soto. Now, you may think it's ridiculous to compare them, and it is, but those guys have to play like generational superstars for that team to have a chance, right? There's a reason that they're sitting right now in last place behind the Red Sox and the Rays, then the Baltimore, and then us. They are way back there, and there's a reason for it. The reason being is that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is hitting 275.
He has 4 home runs. He has as many home runs as Justin Turner. He has 2 more than Isaiah Kiner-Falefa.
This is not a short term, because don't get me wrong, Aaron Judge is hardly hitting 275 as well. But here's one thing that they don't have going for them. They don't have a $300 million payroll. When they've got a guy who they consider to be their best player, and he goes out and gives you 270, they don't have $200 million. Well, they do have it. Their owner's got it, but he spends it on a boat rather than players.
Oh.
However, they don't have the Band-Aid of going out and getting a Carlos Rodon to help the rotation. They don't have the opportunity, right, to spend and retain talent the way the Yankees have with Gleyber Torres, right? Or getting aggressive and going to get a Juan Soto, re-signing Aaron Judge. So I say all that to say this. Their best players have not played the way they need to play for that team to be where they need to be. And having said that, the Blue Jays have a decision. Do we pay Vladdy $300 million or $400, whatever he's going to ask for? Or do we flip him somewhere else? And I know it's ridiculous to think about the possibility of Vladdy Jr. being on the block, but he hasn't really swung his way into the discussion as one of the best players in the game. It doesn't really warrant being a franchise cornerstone as of yet. So I'm not saying they should trade him. I'm just saying I think the conversations and the rumors are going to start to swirl.
I just don't see how, if you're looking at the Blue Jays right now, how can you argue anything you just said? I mean, what, like, this team doesn't really have much of a window. You're never looking at them like this team is going to win the World Series. You're like, yeah, they'll compete. They'll probably get a wild card, whatever. This year, they're not good. I mean, their best player, arguably right now, is Danny Jansen, the catcher, and he's played fewer games than Alejandro Kirk, who's hitting 188. So I don't know what they're doing over there in Toronto. They're not playing the right guys, clearly. Maybe IKF comes back to the Yankees. Who knows? Probably not, because Peraza, but you had mentioned that in a previous episode.
I did.
And I don't know if I cut it up as a YouTube short, but either way, yeah, I agree with you. I think the Blue Jays, it didn't surprise me, Gary. I think the Blue Jays 19-24 right now, having as many wins as Oakland. Yes, they're absolutely a potential sell there. The White Sox are sellers. Angels are sellers, although their owner isn't very smart, so maybe he won't realize that he should sell. The A's are sellers. I mean, quite literally sellers all around. Gonna be what, the Sacramento A's. So then you have Houston is, I can't say Houston's a seller right now. So since the Yankees, remember I said that last game against the Yankees was really their season. It really has been. They beat the Yankees in that final game of that series. And that did not matter in regards to the Yankees, right? Yankees have since won, they're 8-2 in their last 10. So are the Astros. The Astros are 8-2.
I told you. I remember I said I wouldn't pull the string on them. You wanted to. I said Houston is just one of those teams. I said,
though, if they win, I say they still are in it. If they lose against the Yankees, that last game, if they get swept again by the Yankees, 7 straight games, they're done.
And they punched us back. They did.
Yep, they did. They had to. I mean, the toughest team, the most dangerous team is the one that's desperate, because you never know what's going to happen there. So I won't say the Astros are sellers. I would say without a shadow of a doubt, Blue Jays, A's, Angels, White Sox will be dealing arms and bats this offseason or during the trade deadline. In the NL, Gary, Miami Marlins, obviously 14-32. We've talked about their pitchers that the Yankees no longer need. They don't need a starting pitcher anymore.
I've got a big one for you.
Colorado Rockies, because I mean, Kyle Freeland is their starter, so I mean that was to be expected. Uh, Cincinnati Reds 19-25, the St. Louis Cardinals 19-25.
Mets.
I'm gonna say the Giants and the Mets, and I'll throw one out there: the Pirates. Pirates got off to a great start. I
Okay.
could see the Pirates selling at the deadline, and if we want kind of a sleeper one here out of teams that aren't below 500 but could potentially sell, I'm going to say this right now. Okay. The Minnesota Twins just lost 4 straight. If the Twins fall off, could absolutely see it. And the team in the NL right now that I would say, if I was going to pick anybody, I would say the San Diego Padres.
Okay. Um, I just don't know because the Padres, they have big names. And a lot of times with big names comes a big contract, and those players are a lot harder to move
That's
than
true.
what people like to admit. Because when we talk about an Oakland losing, like let's just say Oakland has a 9-game losing streak for whatever reason there would be. Well, obviously that throws a huge loop into their plans, right? Because they were planning on pitching their way to contention and potentially a wild card spot. Who knows what they were trying to do?
I could see them
But
selling like Michael King because I mean they already sold. You think about it, they
right,
got from the Soto deal. Remember they got Drew Thorpe from the Yankees, who's one of their top pitching prospects. So what did they do? They turned around and traded Drew Thorpe and got Dylan Cease.
right, but those pitchers are also wildly affordable. Like if they traded a Miller, right, the
Yeah,
Oakland did, that contract is going to be wildly affordable for any team. It doesn't matter where he goes. He doesn't have to go to the Yankees. He doesn't have to go to Boston or LA. Any team can afford him. The Arizona Diamondbacks, if they traded for him, would be able to afford his contract for the foreseeable future. So it essentially opens up some creativity there. But San Diego is kind of void of creativity when it comes to what they can do in terms of selling. So the team I'm actually going to give you is the New York Mets. And the reason I say the Mets is because I thought they did a relatively solid job of landing on their feet when it comes to getting out of the Verlander and the DeGrom situation. I thought they actually landed some pretty solid prospects. I know no one really gives a rat's ass about how good you're going to be in 2026 when it's 2024. Like we don't even know if we're going to be here in 2 years, but let's be clear. The New York Mets are actually playing fine. They're just a ho hum organization right now. And one thing's for certain, if you pay any attention to contracts, upcoming deals, Pete Alonso is due to be paid. And it doesn't necessarily line up to pay a guy big money when you're playing below 500 baseball. They already have a contract over 300 million for Lindor. And I know the New York Mets at some point in the future are going to want to strike hard to win, not just to spend just because. It seems like Steve Cohen is at least learning his lesson when it comes to contracts he's offering because you don't just get to spend on everybody. At some point or another, you have to pick your battles. You have to say, we are going to pass on investing in this player because of it could be timing or it could be we're after a better player in the future. One of two reasons. And the New York Mets, in my opinion, it's not the right time to pay Pete Alonso. I think they either move him or he moves on, but I'm going to say they deal him.
I think they could deal him. I think they could deal Nimmo. I think they could deal Lindor, Starling Marte. I mean, they don't really. I got to be honest with you. I mean, they don't really have a whole lot. You know, Jeff McNeil, but they have a bunch of guys that are just guys to me. You know, Lindor's not playing well. And, you know, I'm looking at Jeff McNeil and Nimmo and all those guys. And yeah, Mets fans might think they're great, but, you know, they're the Mets. So that's
Lindor's a little
to be
underrated, I
expected.
will say. He's having a horrible year, but Lindor overall is, in my opinion, you might disagree. It's perfectly okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lindor is slightly underrated because he did get that huge contract. Then he goes to New York. So people expected him to hit 320 and just, bop, but he didn't. He really didn't do that. And it's obviously really noticeable when somebody is not as outspoken, but as he has the Juan Soto effect, obviously without the production. But his production is still highly valuable. He's very good defensively, very good. And offensively last year, Lindor was actually pretty good, pretty solid. But yeah, it hasn't been put together. They don't have the glue right now. Of course, they've got, Diaz at the back of that bullpen. But you're talking about a 20-24 organization, and you're sitting behind Philly and Atlanta. What the hell is New York doing? Like they're not doing anything in that division. They're not even scratching the surface. They won't even catch second place.
You know who's getting traded? You ready for this?
Who?
Reed Garrett.
Really?
He's 31 years old. He's got a .79 ERA, a 1.10 WHIP. I feel like I'm watching R.A. Dickey all over again.
You got to cash in on those guys, those outlier performances. When you're 4 games under 500 in a division with Atlanta, the Atlanta Braves are in second place. Yeah. You trade everything you got.
I mean,
everything you got.
They could trade Adrian Hauser. I don't know who the hell would want him unless the Rockies are trying to have a collection of 7 ERA guys. Then maybe they'd be interested. But no, looking at Manaea, I think he's an option. Quintana is everybody's favorite, except for me. I'm so glad the Yankees never acquired him. He's everybody's favorite, every single trade deadline. Jose Quintana, every single trade deadline.
Why is he still pitching?
He has a 5.21 ERA, and he's leading the team in innings.
He's always had a 5.2 ERA.
I know, but then every single time, Gary, every single trade deadline, we always hear, well, Quintana's an option. Yeah, the fact that he has a baseball cap, a baseball uniform, a glove, and an arm, yeah, I guess he's an option. But he's not a good option. I mean, it goes back to our comments. Remember, they need an arm. Yeah, they need a good arm. They need a guy that can actually throw, not like a 5.21 ERA and a 1.46 WHIP. Are you kidding me? He is
technically an arm. He does bring an arm. I mean, with him
good God.
Up to the
fact
mound.
that his appendage is attached. Okay, cool. But like 5.21 ERA, and I don't understand the Jose Quintana craze. I've never understood it. I'm so glad the Yankees never gave up top prospects for him. He's 35 years old, and the Mets are probably going to get a king's ransom for him for like no reason. Everyone goes crazy for him. I don't know why.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just to bring my point earlier, like about Vladdy Jr. And mind you, this is coming from someone like people watching this show. I think very highly of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I think that he has the physical assets to be a superstar. He's already shown it to us, right? His on-base percentage was over 400 in 2021, right?
Yeah.
He hit 48 bombs. He was on the cover of MLB The Show. There's a reason they did that. Although Jazz Chisholm was on it one year, which made no sense. However, the last 2 years, Vladdy Jr., this year is hitting 272 and has, excuse me. This year, he's hitting 275, which is actually exactly what I said, right? But let's be clear. The year prior, he hit 264 and then 274. So there's not a superstar, like we're saying one of the game's best players that hits 274.
No, I think the realization is that he's closer. Let's just not even kid ourselves. He's closer to Pete Alonso than he is Juan Soto. Pete Alonso hits 220 and hits 50 bombs. Everyone's saying, well, Pete
Alonso's a better player than Vladdy Jr. right now.
Right now, maybe. I mean, he's hit, 6 more homers, but he has a a batting average that's 50 points lower. I think I'd go with.
I'm pulling up his numbers right now. Pete Alonso. I want to look at his.
He always hits 220, so I'm assuming he's hitting 220.
Yes, but also.
Oh, he's hitting 226. Okay, well there you go.
Right, but also Pete Alonso hit 46 homers last year. He also hit 40 the year prior. So Pete Alonso is going to execute what he's trying to do, which is to be Mark McGwire.
I mean, he's had him done if he hit 200, over 200.
He drove in 131 runs in 2022. He drove in 118 last year. I'm sorry.
Remember I said something. I said that I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up a Yankee.
Yeah, you did say that. I said the fit doesn't make any sense just because we don't need another. Well, oh yeah, we do need a first baseman, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Rizzo is back after this year. But who knows? Maybe he will be. I don't know.
I think Rizzo's going to take a huge discount, and I'm just going to say it. I think Rizzo's going to return. I think he's going to take a monster discount. I do. I think he loves playing in pinstripes, and I think they love him too. So I'm not saying, but also you saying that, you're not saying that they don't like Rizzo. But
no. I think
but Alonso does exactly what you want him to do, which is show up to the yard. We need you to hit 40 to 50 homers and drive in 110. He did that literally each of the last 2 years.
You know what I could totally see? I could totally see Rizzo going back to the Cubs.
He wouldn't be upset about that.
No, I think that's the only way he leaves the Yankees. But going back to the Mets, want to hear their biggest trade chip? It's actually Luis Severino. Severino's back to a 3 ERA with a 1.20 whip. He strikes guys out. He's flashy. People already saw him pitch in the Bronx. They saw him be able to handle the spotlight. They saw him be able to handle the postseason. I would not trade for him because of the injury history. But there are bad teams that are poorly managed, that are poorly run, and that, I love Severino. I'll always love Severino. I want Severino to do well, even though he's on the Mets and I don't like the Mets. But the fact of the matter is, Gary, if you're trading for Luis Severino, you're getting scammed. And that is the trade deadline, because if you really look at it, the trade deadline is kind of one giant scam. Sometimes you get away with it and it helps you win a title, but there's only going to be one team, Gary. There's only going to be two teams in the World Series and only one team that wins it. And keep in mind, a lot of these are rentals. So you're giving away future assets to go all in. And if you don't win, say you don't even make the playoffs after that, you got scammed.
There's no way anyone's going to give anything of there's no way. Trust me, Jake, I know that there's a lot of organizations out there that are just absolute dog water. But if anyone trades significant assets for a player who's been hurt 3 of the last 4 seasons, significant injuries. I would be shocked.
You would.
Yeah, no, if you send significant.
I feel like the trade deadline garners the dumbest trades you'll ever see in your life.
I'm just trying to look at the organizations that need pitching so desperately that they'd be like, hey, you know, it's a good idea. I know that guy, regardless of what his name is, he has been injured, like a significant injury, 3 of the last 4 years that he's pitched. And then the year he was healthy, he got shelled. But then this year he's off to a really good start. Yeah, send one of our top 10 prospects for him. I can't possibly think. I'm here to tell you right now, Jake, if it happens, I'm calling for someone to be fired immediately.
It's not the NBA executives, because those dumbasses would. But MLB, though, you got some teams there that make some horrible decisions. I mean, we have trades. The Yankees have trades on record. They traded away Roberto Kelly. Like, that was horrible. Yeah, I mean, they've traded away plenty of guys before. But, yeah, I don't know. I could see it. I could see a team going crazy for Quintana and Severino. I'm already bracing for it. I'm bracing for the Mets to make a team randomly good, by the way. That'll be cool. You know, it'd be really cool if the Mets traded Pete Alonso and Severino to the Orioles and it just like propelled them ahead of the Yankees. That would be sick. I'm using sarcasm, but I could totally see the Mets being a thorn in our side, doing one of those trades. Call me crazy.
I'm trying to think of where Pete Alonso could end up, because it's very difficult. I would probably say the San Francisco Giants. That's a team that arm wise, they do have the talent to pick it up. Of course, they've got Blake Snell. So I don't expect Snell to just be buns the whole year. Like, I think at some point he'll figure it out, but maybe he doesn't. But if he does, I mean, you have to imagine, like you just said, the San Diego Padres are a team you can see kind of falling back and they're above 500. Well, that leaves essentially the Giants in Arizona to duke it out for a wild card. Well, you put some thump in that lineup, they might be a little dangerous. So
the Giants could trade at the deadline. Who knows?
they could, right? There's a lot of teams, which we're of course going to discuss it like way in detail when we get close to it, because then we're just going to know flat out who's buyers, who's sellers, and we're going to start throwing out names like every day. So it's going to be great.
It is. I think that's going to wrap it up, though. I was just looking, and Gary, we have a dreaded 105 game tomorrow.
Are we allowed to play like now? See, that's the one bad part about YT is that you can't just like play a song. I was gonna play like the horns, like we're just at a service. Yeah.
Oh, I know what I'm gonna play.
Yeah, every time. I don't know anyone who likes these 105 starts. I don't.
I'm going to play the sad sax every time there's a 105 game.
If you can figure out how to play it on the broadcast, play it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. But yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. But those conversations will come in probably about a month. We'll know in a month who's buyers or sellers. We'll know.
It'll be ramping up. Keep in mind, folks, this is our first time doing this show. This is my first time. That's not true. This is my first time doing a consistent baseball show. For those of you who don't know, I do have some background in baseball. Gary, I don't even know if you know. I used to cover the MLB for the game day. So I did MLB baseball bets, best bets, props, things like that. And fantasy stuff. So, I mean, I've done stuff before, but obviously this is way more in depth than I've ever gone. And I mean, Gary, like baseball is your thing. Like, I mean, obviously your name holds weight, but even just on Twitter, like, you talk about baseball all the time. And it's just, it's one of those things where you don't, like, I'm not known for my baseball acumen or anything like that. I'm more known as a football guy. But even my football channel last year, Gary and I, we didn't care who was watching. We, for fun, went on the air on my channel and talked for like 3 hours about the MLB trade deadline. So get ready, because we'll be doing, what we'll probably do is we'll do shows, but we'll do separate videos, isolating certain topics, isolating certain players. I think doing a mini series on guys, like whether they make sense or not for the Yankees, 15-minute videos, post it in addition to
trade packages together. And honestly, by that point, hopefully we can figure out ways to like get people. I think this would be pretty cool. We can get people that are watching our show to be able to give us their projected trade. And then we can determine whether or not that makes sense. And then we can essentially give you our opinion on who should be traded. Because frankly, there's going to be a lot of guys, and we do this every year, where people are going to be like, to hell with that prospect. Don't want him, don't care. Go get the star, right? Go get the big arm. And I think that's a fair opinion to have. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. This year, the Yankees went and got the big fish in Juan Soto. Other years, like Bryce Harper or other guys, we didn't do it, right? So I think that would be a really nice segment because people will get involved. And then, of course, we get to see some pretty funny trades because, some of them are going to be terrible.
Oh, yeah. The dreaded. Yeah. Can I give you my 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th overall prospect, and you give me Mike Trout?
Yeah. Can you give me something I really want for something I really don't want? That's literally what you're saying. So we'll address it.
It's like, you find a broken charger on your desk and you try to trade it into GameStop. And you're like, I'd like an Xbox, please.
I went in there with a brand new PlayStation 4 and they said they would give me $11.
Nah.
I almost got arrested like Scotty Scheffler this morning. $11 for a brand new PlayStation 4 that's in a box. And mind you, this wasn't like a year ago. This is like 4 years ago.
Man,
A
that's awful.
Ryan
man.
Cashman should be a general manager at GameStop. He can make all the trades he wants.
Oh man, I think GameStop is the only one that wouldn't trade for Jose Quintana.
They'd make you pay them.
For the labor and the time, it comes to a total of $25 for you. Wait, what?
You can give them a whole box of video games, and they're like, yeah, so for this whole box of games, you can kiss my ass, and then we'll give you $4. I'm like, wait a minute, these are 2 brand new games right here. Yeah, they're not worth anything. They'll look you dead in your face and tell you that shit you had isn't worth.
You know what that just
thing.
reminded me? That just reminded me of the SNL skit. I forget the guy's name. He did a Steve Jobs SNL skit. You ever see that?
I haven't.
It'd be like,
I don't have TV.
Back when it was like the iPod Touch came out. Mm-hmm. Maybe it wasn't even. Maybe it was the iPod Nano. It's an old skit. You should definitely look it up. It was like he was pretending to be Steve Jobs and be like, I now have the iPod Micro. It holds 1 million songs. And it's like, all right, Steve, I can barely even see what you're holding. He's like, every photo ever taken. And then he's like, but, and they're like, well, how do I, he's like, you can watch movies on it. And they're like, how can you watch movies on the screen is so small? He's like, I understand. That's why the iPod Micro is now obsolete. He's like, well, that iPod was just out for 5 minutes. 5 minutes too long, too big, obsolete. It's like
that honestly sounds like a South Park episode. But
it's like, now I have the iPod Invisa. All right, Steve, I don't think you're holding anything. No, I really am. Look, it's floating. Like, it's, oh my gosh. It was, and it reminds me of GameStop because it's like that whole idea, like the Micro was out for 5 minutes. 5 minutes too long, too big, obsolete. It's the same thing with those games. Those games that you paid $60, $70 for are now $10.
Yeah. Okay. So if someone makes a dog shit trade, we're just going to call them a GameStop general manager.
What is GameStop at right now?
Oh my Lord.
$21.
Something not good. They don't sell anything anymore.
Yeah, no, it's not even a viable stock. It's just a meme. But anyway, we have fun on this channel, if you didn't know. I have to say this, though, before we go, because, Gary, you and I are bad at self-promotion. Let's just call it like it is. We'll just say, yeah, follow us on... Well, I do that anyway. You don't do anything. I'll just be like, hey, follow at Gary Sheffield Jr., at JK Bogan, and at Yankees Unloaded on all social media. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And one last thing, Gary and I, if you're into it, if you like the tandem that we have going on, we are going to be streaming on kick.com and
playing Fallout.
We are going to be playing Fallout. So, and other games, I'm sure. The point is, if you want to come hang out with us, Dan, I already know you're going to watch this and you'll be like probably celebrating because an OG there. But we will be going back to Kick. We are going to stream. We love doing this. We love doing our shows, but we love talking about whatever. So it's pretty much Q&A, hang out with us and all that. Keep an eye on it. We'll post. We don't want to blow up the community tab on the Yankees Unloaded page because we're well aware a lot of people are just watching us for the Yankees. And I mean, I'm pretty sure that says Yankees Unloaded and not Video Games Unloaded. But if you do want to watch this game and you want to hang out with us, and you want to ask questions and want to watch more live streams, we're going to be doing that very soon. So keep an eye on that. But that's all I got. Gary, I think I nailed the self-promotion thing down just a little bit. And I'll do it.
And like this video.